All right, so today we're going deep on a pretty inspiring figure, Dr. A.P.J Abdul Kalam, through his autobiography, Wings of Fire.
Yeah, and Wings of Fire, it's co-written with Arun Tiwari, but it's really more than a typical biography, right? It's like
Yeah.
this deep dive into vision, perseverance, leadership, humility, all shaping not just one person's life, but a whole nation.
You got it. It's the story of Dr. Kalam, from his humble beginnings in the small town Rameswaram to becoming like a central figure in India's scientific world, and of course, eventually even the president of India.
And the way the book's laid out is really interesting, too. It's split into 4 parts: orientation, creation, propagation, and then contemplation. Following his growth, his work, his impact, and his reflections.
So what we're going to do today is really break down those key insights from each stage. What shaped him early on, what was his role in India's space and missile programs, how did he lead, and what are some lasting lessons we can take from his life?
Sounds good. Let's start with the foundation, then. So Dr. Kalam, he's born in 1931 in Rameswaram, this small town in Tamil Nadu. And to understand his journey, you got to know his background.
Yeah, paint that picture for us.
Okay, so his father, Janulabdin, he was a boat owner and an imam. And his mother, Ashyama, was a homemaker. They didn't have a lot of money, but they were super focused on values, discipline, education, all that good stuff for their kids.
It's amazing, though, how those early years, even with the struggles, really shapes him. You see this constant theme of ethics and learning from the start.
Yeah.
Like, take his job as a newspaper vendor. It seems like a small thing. But it taught him responsibility, hard work, all at a young age.
Right. That kind of early exposure to earning a living, it really sticks with you. And then you've got his teachers. They played a huge part, too. He talks a lot about this one teacher, Yadurai Solomon, who taught him this idea that what we desire, what we believe, what we expect, it's all connected and influences our success. It's that mindset piece.
Totally. It's about that inner drive pushing you forward. Yeah. And then there's Siva Subramania Iyer, who really sparked Kalam's love for science. The story of him explaining flight using birds. It's so cool. It wasn't just theory. It was science in action, and that's what planted the seed for his passion for aeronautics.
It shows how one teacher can really change a student's whole trajectory. With those inspirations in his pocket, he goes on to study aerospace engineering at the Madras Institute of Technology, MIT, in Madras.
But MIT wasn't just smooth sailing, right?
Right. He had his share of obstacles, for sure. But he also found some amazing mentors who saw his potential. And there's this one moment that stands out with Professor Srinivasan, who gave him this tough project with a crazy deadline.
What's important here is that it wasn't just about finishing the project. It was a lesson in time management. Meeting goals under pressure, skills he used throughout his whole career.
Exactly. And even back then as a student, his dedication and innovative thinking were clear. Like with the hovercraft project, he put so much into it. And when he faced those early failures, which are bound to happen when you're trying something new, he just kept going.
He didn't give up.
He didn't. He learned from them.
Edged out.
And that resilience, that ability to turn mistakes into lessons, that became a defining characteristic for him.
Turning those failures into stepping stones.
Mm-hmm.
That's so key. So after MIT, he joins the DRDO, right?
Yeah.
The Defense Research and Development Organization, as a scientist.
That's right. And then comes the big turning point. The move to ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization under Dr. Vikram Sarabhai. That's where his contributions really took off.
ISR was the launching pad for some huge achievements, huh?
It was. He played a vital role in developing India's first indigenous satellite launch vehicle, the SLV-3. And when we say indigenous, we mean India could launch its own satellites without depending on other countries.
That's a big deal.
It was a game changer. The successful launch of the Rohini satellite in 1980. It was a moment of national pride, boosting India's self-reliance in this crucial tech area.
A defining moment for sure. And what's even more impressive is that ISRO at that time didn't have a ton of resources. They were working with limitations. But through creativity, strategic planning, and Dr. Kalam's leadership, they overcame so many obstacles, starting with small rockets, then moving to bigger, more complex missions.
Right. It's a testament to what you can do with limited resources when you've got a clear vision and dedicated people. And at ISRO, he worked alongside some giants of Indian science like Dr. Satish Dhawan. That partnership was so important.
Yeah, collaboration is key.
It really is. Their success with the SLV program, it wasn't just about the tech, it was about that spirit of working together. And Dr. Kalam's leadership style at ISRO, it was truly something special.
Tell me about that.
He was so hands-on. He'd spend time directly with the engineers and technicians, fostering a strong team environment, motivating everyone, even with the limited resources. It wasn't about him being the boss. It was about creating this shared mission and encouraging innovation from everyone on the team.
That's the kind of leader you want to work for.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just the space program, though, right? Dr. Kalam was also instrumental in building up India's defense capabilities with the IGMDP, the Integrated Guided Missile Development Program.
Exactly. That's what earned him the nickname Missile Man of India. Under his guidance, India developed a bunch of super important missiles, Agni, Prithvi, Akash, Trishul, Nag, each one a major leap forward for India's defense tech.
A whole arsenal, wow. And that really cemented India's position as a serious power on the world stage. It showed that they could translate big goals into real scientific and technological achievements.
It did. And Wings of Fire, it gives you these glimpses into the personal sacrifices he made along the way. You know, he was so dedicated to his work and to India that he never married. He was all about constant learning integrity and that whole idea of seeing failures as opportunities for growth.
Right. It's not about being perfect.
Yeah.
It's about constantly growing. So beyond the specifics of the space and missile programs, the book also dives into his bigger vision and philosophy. And one thing that stands out is his vision for India 2020.
Yeah, that was a big one. It was this really forward-thinking plan. He outlined 5 key areas for India's development: agriculture and food security, education and healthcare, information and communication technology, infrastructure, and self-reliance in key technologies.
So basically setting India up for success in all the important areas.
Yeah, his goal was to make India this knowledge-based economy with a strong foundation in science and tech, a country that could solve its own problems and contribute on a global level.
And he didn't just talk about it. He put it into action, right? Like through all his books and lectures, he was inspiring a whole generation of students to go into science and tech.
He had this incredible way of connecting with young people, igniting their curiosity and dreams. And all of this was grounded in his own strong spirituality. He didn't see science and religion as opposites, but as 2 ways of understanding the universe.
Yeah.
He found wisdom in both the Bhagavad Gita and the Quran.
That's pretty cool. He saw them working together.
Yeah, he did. And he truly believed that his work was a service to humanity, a way to make the world a better place. So for anyone listening, Wings of Fire is full of lessons that go beyond just science and technology.
So what are some of those takeaways for the listener?
Well, Dr. Kalam, he always talked about setting big goals, putting in the work, and learning from every setback along the way. He emphasized teamwork, staying humble even when you're successful, and never stopping learning.
Those are great points. It's like a roadmap for success in any field.
It is. And beyond that, he instilled this idea of serving something bigger than yourself. Putting the well-being of your community, your nation, ahead of your own interests. It's a powerful message.
Absolutely. Now, I think it's important to point out that Wings of Fire isn't just a dry recounting of facts and dates. It's got these moments of reflection and creative exploration where the authors really delve into the deeper meaning behind Dr. Kalam's journey.
Yeah, like how they describe Ramaswaram, not just as his birthplace, but as this cradle of infinite horizons. It wasn't just a small town. It was a place where different faiths lived together peacefully, where his parents taught him about both faith and science. His fascination with nature, watching fish and seagulls flying, it all contributed to what they call integrated thinking, seeing connections and finding insights in unexpected places.
And that image of him as the newspaper boy who carried the world, it's so vivid. It shows how even back then reading The Hindu opened him up to global events and ideas way beyond a small town. Those headlines, they were like his first teachers expanding his worldview.
And they talk about his poverty not as a barrier, but as a forge that shaped his resilience. It's a powerful way of looking at it.
And then there's that chapter, The Physics of Longing, which talks about how that lesson on bird flight from his teacher, Siva Subramania Iyer, sparked his imagination. It turned his mind into this wind tunnel of ideas. But then it also covers his rejection from the Indian Air Force, which must have been tough.
It was. And then comes this crucial advice from a monk about rerouted destinies, which leads him to Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, this fire-breathing guru who becomes his mentor. It's like sometimes what we see as failures can actually push us in a better direction.
It's about trusting the journey. And when they describe the missile program, it's not just about the technical stuff. It's like myth-making. They call Agni's steel deity, representing India's ambitions. You can feel the dedication, the team working nonstop for days during the first Prithvi test. It was fueled by what they describe as the collective heartbeat of a billion dreams.
Yeah, and that comparison of the Pokhran 2, a second test, to a dance of Shiva, it's so powerful. It captures that mix of scientific precision and national pride.
For sure. And it all leads into that idea of the symphony of science and spirituality. Dr. Kalam's belief that religion and science aren't at odds, they're connected. He even says a rocket's path is a parabola of faith. It's a beautiful way of putting it. And of course, there's his famous quote, dream, dream, dream. Transform those dreams into thoughts and thoughts into action.
In his view on leadership as a crucible of light, it's all about humility and shared experience. He'd eat in the same canteen, sleep on the lab floor alongside his team. He led from within, creating a sense of unity, not hierarchy.
Then there's that glimpse into his time as president in the Rashtrapati Bhavan diary, where he turns the presidential home into a gurukul, a learning center, especially for kids. His Kalam's Republic of Children initiative and his quote about a child's why being the universe's oldest rebellion, it shows how much he valued curiosity and nurturing young minds.
And who knew he was a secret poet? The night the president wrote poems reveals this whole other side of him. That metaphor of a sparrow in the Parliament garden representing governance, it's a subtle but profound reflection on leadership and responsibility.
And it's so poignant that he passed away while teaching. It's like the
Action, wings that never fold, saying, "You're born with wings. Why prefer to crawl through life?" It's a challenge to embrace your potential and aim high.
And woven throughout those reflective passages are these key themes. Dreams as combustion, that ambition fuels us. Failure as a cosmic fuel, that setbacks are necessary for growth. And youth as the universe's ultimatum, that the younger generation holds so much potential and responsibility.
And the authors, they use such vivid language to bring Dr. Kalam's story to life. Like a satellite launches a bronze bird singing the anthem of gravity's defeat, or a complex experiment is a waltz of electrons in a monsoon rain. It's beautiful writing.
It is. And the book leaves us with this powerful question. What will you set on fire to give light to the world? It's more than just a biography. It's a call to find your purpose and make a difference.
It really is. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Wings of Fire, it's clear that this book is so much more than just a timeline of Dr. Kalam's life. It's about his personal journey, his incredible contributions to science and to India, his inspiring leadership, and those universal life lessons that we can all learn from.
Exactly. And for you listening, Dr. Kalam's message of dreaming big, never giving up, and always learning, it's relevant no matter what path you're on.
It truly is.
So here's something to think about.
Yeah.
As we reflect on the extraordinary life and legacy of Dr. A.P.J. Abdul Kalam, what seemingly impossible challenge might you be inspired to tackle with renewed purpose and determination?
That's a great question to leave us with.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Wings of Fire.
Until next time.
Bye. Last lecture perfectly symbolizes a life dedicated to learning and inspiring others.
Absolutely. And the book ends with this powerful call